Now, leave and license agreement, we all know, I think. What is a leave and license agreement? Leave and license, I think day to day we have seen. See, rent agreement and leave and license agreement, in practicality, it is considered one and the same thing. There is no such implementation, honestly, difference that is there. What is rent agreement and 11-month leave and license agreement are one and the same thing in practice when it comes to practice. So it is nothing but where basically your everyday rent agreement that you have seen, where the person basically, or the leave and license, where the licensee gets permission for peaceful occupation of the property or for some very particular purposes. Okay? He gets the permission from the licensor to conduct these activities, and leave and license agreement is basically the terms and conditions that will govern these kind of activities per se. Okay? Now, two things that I wanted to talk about when we talk about a leave and license agreement is there are two very common misconceptions surrounding leave and license agreement, which I really want to point out. There's a very common misconception as to the duration of a leave and license agreement. Note this, please, okay? Those who don't know already, it's only for them. Those who already know, it's okay. Just a revision of the concept. We all have this common perception that leave and license agreement can only be of 11 months period, but that is not the case. Do you know why 11 months is a standard rent agreement or the standard leave and license agreement? Can anybody say why generally this standard practice of doing it for 11 months and not more than that? Can anybody say this? Any agreement that basically is more than 11 months, it will require compulsory registration. So basically breaking down this, registration charges or avoiding this registration charges is the sole purpose because of which in practical sense people avoid drafting this agreement for a period or tenure more than 11 months. There's a state which is an exception to this practice. I don't know the reasoning although, but can anybody name that state? I think most people, Maharashtra. So Maharashtra, you make an agreement for 4 months, 5 months, whatever. Compulsorily, you have to register, irrespective. So this principle does not apply to Maharashtra. I don't know if any other state has a similar practice. I have not stayed. No, Hardeep, there is no SC judgment which makes it pan-India registration compulsory. I am not aware of any such judgment. In Maharashtra, it's an exceptional practice is there that less than 11 months, agreements also have to be compulsory registered. To my knowledge, Maharashtra is the only state. I don't know if there is any other state which basically compels the person to register a leave and license agreement less than 11 months. So these are the two common things or misconceptions that I wanted to discuss. Okay? Leave and lease and license. Achha, now coming to your legal provision. It is said that Section 52 of Easement Act covers leave and license, but to be very honest, leave and license ये term कहीं पे mention नहीं होता है, ठीक है? It covers only the definition of license scope. Basically, it deals with license. ठीक है? The term license. Leave and license is a very peculiar term. It is just for the drafting purpose. I think people use. Legal aspect इसका क्या होता है? Very frankly, I haven't received this answer. I think it's just the practice that you stay there, you utilize the things for which the license have been provided, and after that, after this said duration, you leave the premises. That is why this term leave and licenses, I think, in practical purposes. State Rent Control Acts. Although State Rent Control Acts, I believe, has a very limited application because it is basically the scope is quite limited only to basically when are you going to refer to State Rent Control Act generally, it is only when you have any sort of a dispute. It talks about the redressal mechanism of such disputes, and in such cases mostly your State Rent Control Act will actually come into play. It has a very good redressal mechanism. Every state has their own Rent Control Act, and that is up to the application. If we talk about a leave and license agreement, I think most application comes about this registration wala part, okay? For the states like Maharashtra, which has stopped or specified the registration, and secondly, the dispute redressal mechanism. All of this mechanism entirely is captured. I don't remember sublet under a leave-in license agreement in your session or some other session, I don't remember. So basically, to answer that, this is basic section 56 of the Act, which Easement Act, that is, which specifically talks about the fact that a license cannot be transferred by a licensee or his agent unless the terms of the license so provide. A license cannot be assigned by the licensee. This assignment cannot be done. This is exactly what we mean by transfer of interest. So anybody who wanted examples of what is transfer of interest, this is an example. Basically, okay, leave-in license agreement has an explicit prohibition on assignment of the license by the licensee. So this exactly is the difference, or the point of difference, or the example that you can take where the prohibition is explicitly on assignment or transfer of interest. Okay? So sublet and all that is governed by this section 56. Therefore, most leave-in license agreement you will see has a explicit clause which prohibits the licensee from subletting the premises which he has gotten under the leave-in license agreement. Okay? So this is a prohibition that is spelled out in most of the standard leave-in license or rent agreements. Okay, so here the distinction between a leave-in license agreement and lease, there are two cases, out of which one is a recent case, that is the ICICI Bank case. You can refer to these cases. Very specifically, the court has not pointed out except this transfer of interest part. Okay? There is no other point of difference that the court could really carve out. Two cases I have cited out here basically, where you can check out these cases to understand how the court has went ahead and interpreted this exact differentiation between a lease and a leave-in license agreement. Okay? So these are the things that I wanted to discuss. I think these are pretty much all the points that we should have discussed.